Okay, we are live. Good morning. I will call the January 9th meeting to order and ask Betty to read the minutes of the January 3rd meeting.
On the January 3rd meeting, would you like me to waive the reading of all the resolutions? Or do you want me to read the whole resolution?
No, I just assume that you waived state that we passed the resolution, but waive the reading of the resolutions,
Okay.
please.
I'll give the summary of it then.
Yeah,
January 3rd, 2023, Chairman Rasmussen called the regular meeting of the Wright County Board of Supervisors to order at 9 a.m. Members present were Cluse, Helgevold, and Rasmussen. First order of business was to give the oath of office to the newly elected officials. The oath was given by Chairman Rasmussen to Attorney Eric Simonson, and also given by Attorney Eric Simonson to Supervisor Dean Cluse, Treasurer Peggy Slutenhofer, and Recorder Denise Baker. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to elect Dean Cluse as chairman and Rick Rasmussen as chairman pro tem for 2023. Motion carries. Minutes of the previous regular meeting of December 27th, 2022 were read and approved. Approved claims for payment. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to appoint Angela Wharton to a 3-year term on the Board of Health. Motion carries. Wharton will replace Jeannie Agana. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Helgevold to increase the mileage rate from 62.5 cents to 65.5 cents per mile for county employees for 2023. Motion carries. This follows the federal mileage rate. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to keep the current drainage warrant interest rate at 6%. Motion carries. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to approve the listed county employee holidays for 2023. Motion carries. They are President's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve the petty cash amount for various office listed below. Motion carries. Petty cash for offices for the auditor, $20, engineer, $50, public health nurses, $55, county sheriff, $200, and county treasurer, $50. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Helgevold to receive the cash count from the end of day on December 30th, 2022 from the Wright County Treasurer. Motion carries. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to participate in the wellness program agreement between ISAC and Wright County for 2023. Last year, there was a savings of $79,738.80 with the participation in the wellness program. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to appoint the Board of Supervisors to various boards and committees as listed below. And there you can see the listing of all the different committees that you all are on. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to maintain David Johnson as the drainage attorney. Motion carries. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to appoint Wayne Stahl for a 2-year term as a Belmont Township trustee. Motion carries. The board is looking to fill a vacancy in Lake Township for an unexpired term for 2 years. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve the appointments of the township trustees and clerks for 4-year terms to expire in 2026. Motion carries. The board is still looking for a clerk in Grant Township and a trustee in Troy Township. And there you can see the full list. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to have the Wright County Monitor, Eagle Grove Eagle, and the Belmont Independent as the official newspapers for county business. Motion carries. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve the appointment of the listed medical examiners and deputies. Motion carries. And the medical examiner is John Aronson. His deputy examiners, Andrea McLaughlin and Dustin Smith. Medical investigators is Mike Witters, Tiffany Tolliver, Andrew Nellison, Melanie Plan, Savannah Snetcher, Matthew Ringenberg, and Amy Erickson Keller. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to appoint Deb Vance to the Board of Adjustments for a 4-year term. Motion carries. The Board of Adjustments are as follows: Shay Hansen, Dave Nelson, Deb Vance, Elizabeth Severson, and Aaron Wagner. Appoint the Wright County Economic Development Commission Board has been tabled to January 16th, 2023. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Helgevold to approve resolution 2023-01, authorizing attendance at meetings by roll call vote, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-01 duly passes and reads as follows. And that's just giving the elected officials and their staff approval to go to ISAC executive meetings. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve resolution 2023-02 for the payment of claims prior to a board meeting By roll call vote, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-02 duly passes and reads as follows. And that is like for payroll and things so that we don't get finance charges, we can pay early. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to approve resolution 2023-03 for the treasurers naming depositories by roll call vote, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-03 duly passes and reads as follows, and you can see that resolution in its entirety. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to approve resolution 2023-04 for the construction evaluation by roll call vote, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-04 duly passes and reads as follows. And that is the master matrix for confinement buildings resolution. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to approve resolution 2023-05 for the sheriff naming the depositories by roll call vote, Cluse, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-05 duly passes and reads as follows. And there you can see him naming for Citizens Bank. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to approve resolution 2023-06 for the recorder naming depositories by roll call vote, ayes is Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. Resolution 2023-06 duly passes and reads as follows. And that's for Citizens Bank for the recorder. Also, Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer, presented the names of 2 new truck drivers out of the Belmont Maintenance Facility. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve the hire of the names presented pending post-offer pre-employment physical drug screen and background check. Motion carries. The starting wage will be $25.94 per hour. Clemens gave an update on the secondary roads. There were 15 work orders completed last week, with 13 of them being snow removal using the blower. Blades are cleaning up from the prior week's snow event and widening routes, tapering shoulders, clearing intersections and around the railroads. All personnel went out on Sunday, December 25th and Monday, December 26th on hard surface and gravel routes. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Rasmussen to move into closed session at 9:46 a.m. pursuant to Iowa Code 21.51I to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless or irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session. Motion carries. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Helgevold to move into open session at 10:25 a.m. Motion carries. There was no action taken concerning closed session. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Helgevold to adjourn the meeting. Motion carries. The Board of Supervisors will hold a budget discussion workshop at 1:00 p.m. on January 3rd, 2023.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, they'll stand through this correction. I mean, as
Read.
read, thank you.
There you go.
Approved claims for payment, they've been around. It's this one signature, Betty.
That's the minute.
Morning, John. Morning. Okay, open forum for public input.
Morning, Dean.
Morning, Bob.
I'd like to maybe make a few comments after Summit gives their story.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? About 5 minutes. John, well, you're up. We better wait on yours. We'll be in recess until 9:14. We have a 9:15 timed event with Kaylee Langrell and Bill Sullivan to give an update on Carbon Summit Solutions pipeline. Again, that's a timed event. We'll come back on at 9:14. Careful when you scooch under that seat. It'll take your knees. Yeah.
I was looking at it earlier, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm glad you reminded me because.
Okay, it's 9:15. We have Haley Langrill, the Public Relations Coordinator for Carbon Summit Solutions. Bill Sullivan was ill, so he will not be here today. Haley, over to you.
All right, good morning. Did you guys get the handouts in your packet?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think much has changed, as far as those, as the last time you were here, just wanted to make sure you had them out. And then also on the Iowa one, everything's the same except for the mileage and stuff has changed.
Okay.
And then I have extras if anybody, else wants a packet, would you like one? There you go. I put them in, I got little plastic things this time, so I wasn't fumbling everyone. So I'm kind of at the point where I don't know if I need a reintroduction or not, but I'm just gonna do it just in case there's anybody on the call who hasn't heard from me yet. So my name is Haley Langrill. I work for Turnkey Logistics, representing Summit Carbon Solutions. We primarily do the non-environmental permitting for the project, but my primary job is going around to the county boards and giving updates and answering questions. I don't always have the answers, but I will write them down and try to get them to you. So today I kind of want to do something similar to what we did last time. It'll be very brief, and then if you guys have any questions, you can ask, but we'll just kind of go through where we're at with permitting, and then construction and land acquisition. So just getting into that, we do still expect construction to start in late summer of 2023. So if anything changes there, we will let you know, but right now still late summer of 2023. As far as land acquisition, we are at above 60% in Iowa at this point. So I think last time we were here, we were right around 50 and we've hit 61%. In the county, last time we were here, I think I have it written down as being September 19th. We were at 32% of easement miles acquired. That's how we're getting all of these statistics out, is easement miles acquired. As of the 4th of this month, we are at 47%, almost 48%. So we're making progress. I will say things did kind of slow down just because harvest and the holidays and everything, but we're still, working really hard. And hopefully next time I'm here, we'll have it'll be even better. And we are really happy with the numbers that we're getting so far. So we're ahead of schedule on that. And I think that just, shows our land agents are working as hard as they can. And then, even if people can't get answers from land agents, hopefully they can get answers at these meetings as well. So so that's kind of where we're at with land acquisition. And then as far as permitting, that's where we have the most progress. So you guys probably know Bill has submitted the crossing permits to Adam. And so hopefully, you guys will be hearing about that if you hadn't already. And then as far as drainage, I know that's something that came up last time, and so Bill has become quite the drainage expert since then. So I wish he was here with me, but he actually gave us a whole presentation about drainage districts over the weekend. So it was very helpful, and he's the guy you want working in your county for sure. So I know he's had a drainage meeting with the clerk, and I think you were there, Dean.
Yes.
He's working on scheduling another one I think they're looking at tentatively the 25th of this month.
25th or 27th. Yeah, I was supposed to get back with Courtney, which I failed to do because I needed some answers from our drainage attorney.
Okay.
But yes, we are working on setting up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so just showing that we're kind of working on that, and we want to make sure that we give the county everything that you guys want to see as far as crossing drainage ditches. So.
I guess I'll make you aware at least of one of my concerns. And Bill is aware of this, that we had not passed the resolution on our application process yet. And my concern is when they submit the application, that starts some timelines as far as when we say we will provide something so that you guys can do something. And my question or my question to the attorney is, how do I word that in that application? Because I don't have the authority to grant someone permission to go on someone's property to do, in the case of drainage, we're talking about going out there and doing locates so that we have exact locates, not necessarily digging tile up or starting the process of construction. So it's easy for me as a drainage district trustee to grant an application in an area where your land agents have signed an easement with the landowner. That still doesn't relieve me of the requirement to go to that landowner and say, they've applied for this, we are going to grant this application. In the case of somebody's property that you want to go on to locate tile that has not signed with one of your land agents or signed an easement for you, I would not permit that application or grant that application. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, because I have rights as the drainage district to go on and do maintenance and work, but I don't have the right to grant someone else permission to go on to that property. So, so I'm still working on the wording of that, and that's why I didn't get back with setting the date to meet with Bill.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
something that you've decided on, but you're just working out the wording with the attorney for that.
Right.
Am I hearing that? correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a fair statement, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I relay it to Bill correctly.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. That's totally understandable, and we want to make sure that we go about this the right way.
Right,
So I'll leave it at that.
right, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no,
Presentation.
that's pretty much all I have. I mean, you guys have heard about our partnerships and the community investment stuff. So I just wanted those were the three big topics that I wanted to hit on, is the crossing permits. And then, once we get the crossing permits, the next step would be driveways. But we'll wait, of course, and get those ready, and we'll submit them once that process is done.
And then the other part of wording, I remembered what the other question that I had for Dave Johnson was is there wording that needs to be in there that says that although I've given you permission to go out and locate, I've given you permission to go into the drainage district to locate those tile in anticipation of construction, I wanted wording in there that says, under no circumstances are you allowed to go in there and start construction or disturb the ground or whatever until the permit is actually issued through the Iowa Utility Board.
Okay.
And any appeals that landowners may have, because I anticipate that if the Iowa Utility Board does grant the permit, that there will be appeals that will drag that thing out. So,
That's possible.
yeah, okay. I'm sorry, were you done?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I have Bob Watts. Did you have any questions, Bob?
No.
Okay. And Bob Ritter had a question for you. Bob, are you still on?
Yep, you bet.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just give you a few things that I've learned in the last few months. I've been working with my fifth land agent, and we came to an impasse the other day because when Mitch Baum said he thought they could move the tile and they denied it, then he came back with, well, this is such a good deal that you should be signing this. And I says, what do you mean? And he says, well, he said, you made the offer. And I said, no, I did not make the offer. You made it. I was out with Isaac Ruzio, the engineer, and him were in our driveway where this is going through. They made an offer and it was a very good offer, but they've come up with a new deal now that they're trying to fool people. They have the original calculation sheets and that's all they record. And then they have another sheet that they call supplement to easement calculation sheet. And here's the biggest one. The original amount was 35,000, just about 36,000. And then, of course, it pops up with another 86,000 on it. So that's very attractive. And if we could get together, I think it would probably be okay. But a couple of other things which Farm Bureau has really gotten on now, which is really going to help down the road, is the calculation sheets have payments for 3 years. There's going to be a big elephant in the room because okay, can you guys see that at all?
We can see that you're holding your phone up, but we can't
Okay,
really see. It looks like a map of some sort.
yeah, it's a yield map. That's from Dapple, south of Ames. 5 years later, there's a nice red line. I will put together some stuff and show you guys everything and make some copies so that you can see it later on. But just to show you that I've done a few things. I have an Exhibit H here also, which they've agreed to some things that I wanted done and going to do. And everything is good, but they still have this little counterfeit thing they're doing. But I got really dumb lucky the other day. I went to pay a bill just last Friday. There is well, you probably won't be able to see it. There's a website you can go to and see the pipelines. Anyway, this guy, naturally, that's what we all talk about nowadays. So anyway, we got to talking about the pipelines and he says, well, here, let me pull up some yield maps. The last one put in my natural gas line. This is right over here in Franklin County, was put in 91. That's over 30 years ago. You should see the last 2 years yield charts. It's just, you cannot believe it's still there. He told me there's no snow on it right now either, which I've heard that from some of the Dapple people. These pipelines are just a little bit more than what everybody appears and knows about them. So I'm getting ready. I'll get some stuff ready for you guys to look at and so you can see it instead of just over a little camera on a phone or the internet and stuff. So
Okay, I appreciate that.
but the biggest thing, Dean, is, and I think you and I've talked about it, is it's pretty easy when I look at this to say, well, gee, I could walk away with $100,000 real easy extra and stick in my pocket and then make me look good on paper. The thing I'm worried about is safety. Not for me, for everybody in Wright County, because here's the thing. And I know you and I were both watching this, the utilities board meeting last month. Dubinsky, I think that's the attorney's name.
Yeah, Brent Dubinsky.
Yeah. You and Kaylee can discuss this because you know what, when they said they contacted every coordinator, you know what they did, and sent an email inviting them to visit a ethanol plant. And I think you guys all got invited to it too. That doesn't have a whole lot to do with safety, and they're just ignoring it. They think they don't have to. They're a long ways from the 90% that Farm Bureau wants them to have on easements. It's going to be almost impossible for that. The big thing they're on now, because they're learning more, as more and more people learn about the pipelines, and now that we have the technology today to document, a lot of people have yield maps from 20 years ago, so we can go through all kinds of history and look at them. When you still got yield losses showing up on corn that's making 200 plus to 240 consistently, and you've got these red lines 30 years later, they're gonna have to do something on the payment of some kind. That's all there is to it. It's just, anyway, the safety thing is still the big thing though, Dean. That's they haven't done a stinking thing with that safety thing.
So what he's referring to is, at the Iowa Utility Board meeting, Brent Dubinsky was asked, some safety questions, or they were brought up. And he said that they had been coordinating with the local EMS coordinators. And so we talked to our, EMS coordinator, and she received an email, but nobody has contacted her and talked to her about, okay, what are the procedures? What are the things that we need to work on, concerning safety?
Okay, so, you know, I think we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, and I will say Rod Dillon. So he's the one who is responsible for reaching out to these emergency managers, and his contact info is there. If you guys want any more information specifically, I know you talked to your EMS person, but in the beginning stages right now, before we've started construction, it is simply reaching out. And I'm telling you, I have looked through, you know, I've been working on, since we're starting our third round of presentations, I've been working on finding more safety information, and I spent half a day, I think, maybe more, looking through the PHMSA CFR 195. And I can tell you that those regulations are very serious, and and they're very detailed. So there's a timeline for everything. And right now, you know, and I think if I didn't go this time, sorry, I'll go over it again right now, but so the plan is we will have trainings with county EMS. And then once our full-time staff is hired, which wouldn't be until construction time, because that's when we'll have the full route, because right now we're still working landowners. So we'll have the full route at that point, and we'll hire our full-time staff that will be, you know, living locally. They have to be, that's another thing that PHMSA dictates, is how far along the line that they will be working, because we have to have them placed across the project line. We will have trainings with those staff and the EMS together. So if something does happen, it won't be the first time that they're working together. Everyone will know and be on the same page on how to handle a situation like that. And then just another thing, talking about safety, we have the valves. There will be regular maintenance that those people will be handling. There's a lot that goes into it. And if you haven't looked into those regulations, I highly recommend it to everyone, because it does show you how stringent, I guess, they are. And we have a couple highlighted on here, but this is, I mean, these are really, I don't know what the right way to say it is, but they're not, you can't write the whole regulation down and put it on a page like this. So I can come and tell you about it, but unless you read it yourself, you're not gonna really understand. And I know that's annoying to say, like, why can't you just tell me? But you really do have to read it and to see what I'm saying. But I hope that makes, I don't know if it will make Bob feel better. I hope that it does. And if you guys look into it, I hope that it makes you feel better.
I don't think it does. I think from the public's perspective, it's putting the cart before the horse, and we would like to see the horse in front leading. And so we want to know what the safety concerns are and what the, you know, there was, and I don't want to rehash that Iowa Utility Board hearing, but plume data and safety concerns around towns and around schools. And there's just a lot that we feel that this is, that the Iowa Utility Board could potentially issue a permit before all of these questions are answered.
So just to talk about the plume study, they're working on that. That's something that should be done within the next couple months, because they've been working on it. And that's something that will be shared with EMS, because that's how they develop their training. That's another reason I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's why we haven't started these trainings yet, is because it's not done. So when it's done, all the training will be, you know, where this pipeline is going. Iowa is different than Nebraska. I mean, a couple 50, 100 miles from here, it's completely different.
Right.
So the dispersion study is going to look different for each county, for each city. So that's how they have to develop the trainings.
Yeah. All right.
Bob has his hand up.
Okay. Bob, you got your hand up.
No, this is Judy this time. I have
Yes,
a
Judy.
question on the training. how can you train anybody with the CO2 that if you get anywhere close, vehicles will not run, nor can you breathe? How do you train anybody to deal with that?
How do you shut the pipeline off?
Yes, and how do you shut the pipeline off if and when there would be a leak or a rupture?
So as far as shutting it down, that's the valve stations that you can, if you have the map, I'm sure you guys have looked at it and you can see where the valve sites are. There's, looks like there's
6 in Wright County.
yeah, there's a lot. So, you know, if there is some sort of rupture or pressure change, temperature change, the valve on each side of that will shut down automatically. The people in Ames will also have access to that. There's also going to be on the valve a manual lever. If someone's there, they can, there's multiple different ways that it's being watched over, but that's how you would handle that situation. As far as training, I am not an EMS person. Rod Dillon has like 30 years of experience in EMS, so he could explain this really well. But I will say what we would expect of county response is simply blocking off the area. So wherever there is CO2, it would be to block off that area so that no people that live there or, you know, would be passing through could go through and potentially, you know, come across the CO2. But with that, I will say, you know, it's CO2, if there is any kind of rupture, it's gonna, in the pipeline, it's a dense phase, which is between a liquid and a gas. Once it comes out, it's going to try and go back to its gaseous state, and then it will dissipate. How long it takes to dissipate, it depends on a whole bunch of different things, and that's what the dispersion study is going to give us, those different worst case scenario, like if the wind's going this way, you know, it's going to tell us about that stuff. So we'll know how, that's part of the trainings, is that emergency response will know how to, they'll look outside and say, okay, the wind's blowing 10 miles per hour southwest. This is where we need to go to block off this area and keep everyone safe. And then Rod Dillon is also working with emergency response. If there's something that the county needs, like as far as equipment, that's something that he's talking with people on a county by county basis. And those discussions, you know, will go further as time goes on, because people will learn more and the EMS will learn more about CO2 and you know, what the dispersion study lays for. So.
Any other questions?
Well, the PHMSA regulations are gonna change. You know, they're doing studies.
Yes. They have changed. They have.
They haven't changed yet because they're just doing.
So, I believe after the, I'll bring up the Mississippi incident, there were changes made since the failure report has come out, and we've anticipated those changes and built, and, you know, we haven't built the pipeline yet, but we are anticipating those changes.
Then you're gonna meet
Yes,
the requirements that haven't been issued yet.
that is correct. That's part of the valve station placement. That's what's gonna be a part of that, I believe.
Yeah, but the distances between occupied dwellings and stuff. You're 50 feet. That's what it says on your, right,
So
on the other side of it, I think.
it does say, so, yeah, I'll kind of explain this.
And if it goes up to a quarter mile, then what do? You gonna move the pipeline?
A quarter, if PHMSA lays that forward, if they put that in their requirements, yes, we would not be able to build the pipeline if we didn't have them a quarter mile. If PHMSA decides that's a regulation they want to impose.
But you're gonna build the pipeline before the regulations are finalized.
Well, that's another thing that I think,
Or you claim you're going to.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if PHMSA puts forward new requirements, it's not, you're not always grandfathered in. Pipelines would have to,
They are
Meet that.
grand.
It
That's
is-
what it says.
it depends on the regulation. So with that, I'm not sure, but I do know that with other, just so everyone knows, with other parts of the CFR 195, we would have to go in and make changes to our pipeline, and we will have to do that when changes are made in the future.
Okay, so
I think that's right.
Jason has a question. Will Summit Carbon Solutions reimburse the county for costs it incurs for such an event?
Like for construction,
No, I'm assuming he's referring to if there's a rupture and,
For your EMF,
EMS or training or requirements, equipment that they might need.
So the, I wouldn't say I can answer that question fully. I'll get a for sure answer, but what I can tell you is that we're held liable. So that would make me think that we're held liable financially as well. So unless we are held liable in all situations except for gross negligence, and gross negligence, I always use the example of if someone goes out there and takes an axe to it on purpose, then they would be held liable, not us. But every other case that's not gross negligence, it would be us.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and we'll be back hopefully with some more updated information.
Do they have a hearing date yet scheduled, or is it?
No, the next, Iowa Utility Board's meeting is on the 19th of January. Excuse me, 17th at 9 o'clock, but they haven't set an agenda that I've seen, concerning this, and they haven't issued anything, at least in their emails on deliberations following that hearing. So, that's what you understand also.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Haley, I appreciate it.
thank you guys.
Okay. Item number 6, John Tolbert with Iowa Drainage District Association to give an annual update. Morning, John. Good morning. Watch your knees. Sliding under that. Pardon me? Watch your knees sliding under that table because. I see that. Yeah.
Good to be here this morning, bring you up to date on some of the things that we're working on. I know some of you were in attendance at our annual meeting, in early December. I have had the chance to go through the evaluation forms for that, and those will be given to our IGBA Board of Directors at our next meeting, but I would say that the evaluations were very positive. Couple of suggestions to look at, as we always have, but feel very good about the meeting, and I think it was well received. I know you're talking pipelines, legislature's in session as of today. I don't think the legislature's had the last word on this yet. There's a lot of rumors going around about there's going to be legislation this year. Don't know what that's going to look like yet. I get a daily summary of many bills that are proposed in the legislature. I got my first one today. And at least in terms of the bills that came out today, there's nothing, but I would expect that we'll see something within the next couple of weeks here. In terms of what the legislature is going to do in response to this, and IDDA will have to make a decision at that point whether we want to become part of that discussion or not. I assume we will in some way, shape, or form, depending on what the bills look like. But we'll be watching those.
Are you thinking that that'll center around eminent domain, or?
I'm guessing that will certainly be a major part of it. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. And like I said, right now there's just a lot of rumors, and we haven't seen anything in black and white. So until we see that,
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
And other than that, I would say that, I've talked many times with you about waters in the United States. I can tell you that the last week of the year, the Corps did come out, EPA did come out with their proposal, with their rule. I haven't had a chance to read through it yet. But from the summaries I've read, I don't like it. Our concern was that they were going to continue to use what they call this nexus argument. And what that simply means is this brook is connected to this stream, and this stream is connected to this river, and this river is gonna water the United States, so everything that's part of that connection is gonna be considered water the United States for purposes of Clean Water Act. Potentially that could bring drainage under the purview of the Clean Water Act in terms of you all having to get Clean Water Act permits to do drainage activity. That would not be a tenable situation. So like I said, I haven't read the rule, but I know that they've still got nexus in there, and that is concerned. The other thing that I've read in several publications, there is a court case currently pending for the U.S. Supreme Court, which is a Sackett case, S-A-C-K-E-T-T. My understanding that case has already been heard. And there's an expectation that the Supreme Court is going to issue a ruling on that soon, probably within the next first 3 or 4 months of the year.
What is that case?
It's a
Concerning Lotus.
indirectly, yes, it concerns some landowners in Washington or Oregon. And a dispute they had with the EPA, and that ended up going to the Supreme Court. And from what I've read about the Sackett case is if the Supreme Court finds in favor of the landowners, that will necessitate a rewrite of this rule. So I think right now everybody's sort of in a holding pattern. I'm not aware yet that any other lawsuits have been filed to stop the execution of the rule. I'm assuming there will be. So this is not the final answer in any way, shape, or form. There's still things developing, but we'll keep you apprised of that. Other thing of interest, some of you may remember going back about 3 or 4 years now, what drainage law used to say was that if you had a drainage repair that exceeded $50,000, you had to get an engineer's report on that repair. We had a lot of concern in membership that that amount was just way too low, and that getting an engineer's report for a routine maintenance job was in some cases doubling the cost. So we had legislators who were willing to increase that amount. And some of them wanted to go as high as $500,000. And we sort of said, you know, spending $500,000 without having an engineer look at that is probably not a wise thing to do. So what they decided on is to use what they call the competitive bid threshold, which is something that is in law, which is used routinely and which is recognized. And at that time, competitive bid threshold was $139,000. The beauty of the competitive bid threshold is it's set by DOT, so the legislature doesn't have to take action to change it. So they adopted the competitive bid threshold, applied that back to drainage districts. So when that law went into effect, you could have a repair of $139,000 without having to get an engineer's report. That has now changed. DOT met late last year, and effective January 1st, that has gone up to $196,000.
I had a discussion with our county engineer because I'm wondering if the drainage districts under 486 are supposed to be using the vertical, instead of the vertical infrastructure dollars, they should be using the horizontal, because there is a Adam, help me out here.
There's a chart that shows both.
Right,
So. it's
vertical
every year,
infrastructure and
Vertical and horizontal.
horizontal.
Mhm.
And so that was going to be one of my questions that I brought to the board. And to our legal counsel is, was the law written to say the higher of, or did it specify vertical infrastructure or horizontal infrastructure? Because there's a big dollar difference.
I don't want to give you an answer without looking at it.
Okay.
I have an understanding of it, but I don't want to say what that is until I look.
It's horizontal left.
Yeah,
Horizontal is less, yes.
I think it's specific, but I'll
Okay.
find that out.
Okay.
And I'll be back to that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it says either or.
Okay,
I think it ties it to one of those specific things.
okay.
And I've got all that paper at home, of course. But, you know, that is something that, you know, we think provides some needed flexibility to districts. You know, certainly it's just a requirement. If you want to get an engineer's report for a lower amount, you can certainly do so. And if you've got something that's going to be non-routine or, you know, have some twists and turns in it that you think might make it a little more unusual than some of the other stuff you're looking at, it's probably wise to get a report.
Typically, when we're spending landowners' money, we err to the conservative side, yeah.
Sure. Understand that. Yeah. And, you know, there'll be other stuff coming out of the legislature, there always is. But with the deadlines that the legislature has in terms of bill introductions, et cetera, we'll know most of what we're looking at by the end of January. Most of that will be on the table.
Do you have any feeling whether, Latham, will come back with he had a proposal in last year. I'm trying to remember what it was. What he called it, if it was it didn't go anywhere, but he was looking to change some legislation. Are you familiar with what I'm speaking
Talking about
to?
Senate Bill 500.
Senate File 500, Goose, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Senator Goose, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that he will reintroduce that?
yes. I do. I haven't seen it yet, but my understanding is something like that or something like it. I don't know if there's been more fine tuning.
Okay.
More changes to it, because one of the things that happened last year is they realized when they got to the deadline that they didn't have a bill that was ready for prime time.
Yeah, when they came and presented it to us, we didn't feel that they had all their ducks in a row.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the things, when you're in the legislative process, when I see a bill come across my desk in the morning, I have options of what we can do as the Drainage District Association. I can register in favor of the bill. I can register as undecided. I can register as opposed, or I can do nothing. And just, that's not a bill that affects us, and we're not going to worry about it. Most of the bills we look at don't affect us, and so you move on. If you look at last year's registrations on Senate File 500, there were 35, 40 registrations on it. Not one registration in favor of the bill. I don't, you know, even if we were to say, yeah, that's a good, I don't see getting it through the system.
Right.
It's just got too much steam behind it, and it's really complex and really I read it 4 times, trying to make heads or tails of it. And you know, it was a mess.
Yeah.
So we'll be watching.
Okay, very good.
Anything else?
Everything. No, sir.
All right. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay, item number 7, Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer. Consider resolution 2023-07, amendment to the engineer's employment contract and agreement.
You have a resolution presented in front of you as requested, as per the current contract, to amend the current employment contract I have with the county. I'll leave it in your hands, how you want to present it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I guess I need to present definitely the changes. So this would be amending paragraph 6 in your contract. The engineer shall not receive less than the following annual percentage pay increases: 4% for contract year 1, 4% for contract year 2, and 5% for contract year 3. Annual salary amount for the contract year 3 shall be used for the purpose of calculating the subsequent renewal contracts, which of course comes into play because if we continue the contract, it would again go 4, 4, 5.
Correct.
That change is from this year's the previous contract that you had was 3, 3, 4. I
Yeah,
believe.
with specified amounts in there.
Okay. Then in paragraph 7, amending that, that the engineer shall be entitled to 36 vacation days per year. That's 36 working days. And also a maximum of 10 vacation days may be carried over from one year to the next. That was in the current contract. But the change would be that you may receive 10 days payout of accrued vacation at the end of each fiscal year.
So that wasn't highlighted in red on that, but.
And then amending a paragraph 11. Excuse me, that was not an amendment. So the paragraph 11 has to do with
11A was amended,
right, with
severance.
severance of the engineer. So the board may terminate, I'll read 11A as it is amended. The board may terminate this contract at any time with or without cause by giving 60 days notice in writing to the engineer of such formal action taken by unanimous vote of the board. In such an event, the engineer, if required by the board, shall continue to render his services and shall be paid his regular compensation up to the date of termination. All of this is the same, has not changed. Upon issuance of such termination without cause, the board recognizes the adverse circumstances to pay the engineer at the time of termination a severance allowance in the amount equal to 12 months salary. So that previously said 10 months, and we are changing that to 12 months as settlement for damages sustained. Again, if it is with cause, then we are not required to pay that amount. But if we vote unanimously to vacate your employment, then we are required to provide you a severance package of 12 months.
Now, last year when we did the raises, we did 10% to the regular staff, except for the other ones, and that's, you only received your 4% versus the 10 because
he was
you're
under
contract.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then in item 11D, and this is concerning the contract. Unless otherwise amended by resolution, the existing contract will automatically be renewed for subsequent fiscal years under the same terms and conditions as set forth in the existing contract. Annual salary may be reviewed for subsequent contract periods. So this allows us to keep the same 4, 4, 5, but if there needs to be some negotiations on what those pay raises are based upon, this allows us to have that negotiation. And then in paragraph 12, it is changed where it says this contract may be amended or revised at any time only by written approval of the board and the engineer.
I need to bring your attention to, you skipped one over, amend paragraph 11B I6.
Okay,
Removes the 1 through 5.
which were the listings of the cause,
For cause.
but if we remove you for cause,
There have a-
There has to
we
be
will
reason.
have a specific reason, right?
And it states what reason that can happen for.
Yeah. So
The county attorney has reviewed this.
The contract had been sent to Mike Galloway for his review too, so.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to take action on resolution 2023-07, an amendment to engineers employment contract and agreement.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-07 as discussed with the changes presented by roll call vote. Carl,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Dean, aye. You carry.
So on that one, you want his, you have one to sign too. So you can have a copy. So I put it in, that's why I had a paper clip on it, so you can.
This one spot.
This one. Sign that one. You would check, please. Ready for item B, Mr.
Yes, sir, I am.
Ready. Are you taking them? Okay, secondary roads update, blades, last week, V picking areas of slick conditions. We had some rain, and then some down temps where we started having some more slick conditions on gravel routes, so we were back out trying to V pick where we could. Trucks had the winter events that they were responding to, completed 7 work orders, service of 4, snow removal, 2 with the snow blower again. Excuse me, still working on a few of those, and 1 sheriff's office service. Excuse me, sheriff's office service. Winter operations, call outs January 4th, 5 a.m. trucks only, hard surface. And then January 5th, 5 a.m. call out.
That was for slick spots.
That was for our, responding to snow, drifting and slick. Yeah. So, the guys, obviously the motor graders were out doing whatever they could, whenever they could to tighten up their conditions on gravels.
The picks are really, I've on a few of the roads, the picks really do work, I guess, intersections.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Intersections are-
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that's all I have. I did discuss with Kaylee about the safety item, being a volunteer fireman, but I also wanted to make sure they are considered a private utility, correct? This is in regards to the permit that they sent to me. So for utility crossing.
At this time, they are.
I don't know if that's been determined by the Iowa Utility Board, if they're even what they are.
Yeah, either a private industry or a public utility.
Right.
So that would be the big determination for us as secondary roads, whether or not we can actually issue our permit to them. It would either be a work in the right of way permit or a utility permit.
If they're a private entity, it would be a work in the right of way.
Yes, and then we would require, and this is what I wanted to state was that we require landowner signature adjacent to both sides. So if they wanted to cross our road as a private utility or private business, they would have to have permission from both landowners on each side of the road.
And
So we
now,
would require
that
signature.
comes back to the whole easement
Correct,
thing.
yes.
And if
So
they
it kind of
vote to be a
piggybacks.
public utility, they vote then, it would be, you would just grant them access to our.
To the.
As a
to the
public
right of way.
utility, they have,
Cross.
I don't have to have signature from adjacent landowners because certain codes, 479, 478, 476 follow that.
Gotcha.
So
So we're kind of in limbo on that until that
Correct.
board.
So I'm not going to issue those permits because legally I cannot issue those permits just yet. Once we have made a determination from the IUB on whether a public utility or a private, they stay, we'll determine what we can and can't do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did suggest that they possibly and I was going to suggest this to the board, as you guys are a part of Hazmat Region 5. Maybe we start reaching out to your hazmat committee and ask for maybe some guidance or opinion on whether or not.
Would they have like the sensors like they do in natural gas? Well, when you have a gas leak, they have the sensors. Is that has your hazmat, you're on that? They have the sensors to figure out where everything's going. Because I know when they evacuated downtown here a couple of years ago.
Yes, you call them snoopers. Yeah, yep. So it'd be the same situation. I did look up we have a book that's hazardous communication handbook. Carbon dioxide is inside of that. So, and what to do. So that book tells volunteer firemen or emergency response personnel how far back to stay, how far, if the wind temperatures are such, humidity, that sort of thing. So I did relay that to them so they can possibly have their safety person come in, and maybe you guys can also have your a representative from that Region 5.
Good.
So I think that might do some good for the public. to-
Are we the
to
only
learn.
one the pipeline goes through in here in that?
Yep.
No,
Well,
Another
it
one
goes
in your
it
region?
goes through Webster County also, and they're based out of Fort Dodge, aren't they?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Region
Region
5.
Region 5, so
So there's,
And we receive training each year for hazmat updates.
And they have not been to any of our meetings yet.
Correct.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's a situation where they should reach out or, but I did let them know that they need to start reaching out to the hazmat regions.
well, I think,
we need protocols and things
Correct,
like that.
exactly.
right, and that's the public's concern
Yep.
too. That's what Bob was bringing up, is that Mr. Watts was talking about, is that PIMSA is looking at, okay, what are our requirements gonna be for CO2 pipelines, and they haven't established that. So how can someone be out there training people if we don't even know what the regulations are yet, or how they're gonna change?
So if you download, there's an app specifically for this, it's EGR 2020. It actually was a PHMSA.dot.gov document.
Okay,
So it is already in there. You can search by the name of the item, carbon dioxide, and it says potential hazards, fire explosion, hazards, public safety.
is EGR emergency gas release? or-
I couldn't tell you that specifically. Yeah, emergency.
Emergency
Thank you.
response, yeah,
Eric.
ERG.
Yep.
Okay,
So, but that's what firemen and emergency response personnel are being trained on, is that book. And then what placards look like into that such. So we have those in each one of our handbooks or our fire trucks.
okay.
So
So once they do this meeting, you've been following this thing, so will they make a decision that day, or do they deliberate for a time, or is
That meeting was about whether or not the Iowa Utility Board was gonna set this schedule of how things were gonna happen,
Okay.
that delineates this timeline, which I think that's in anticipation of, we are gonna issue a permit. This is how it's gonna go. Then I think that, I don't know though, if in that document, they'll state, hey, this is considered a public utility, or this is a private enterprise with a hazardous pipeline, and that's why it comes under their jurisdiction.
So
I don't
we're
know.
currently working on another gathering line with a private company that has chose not to try to go get a utility, public utility designation. That they want to put a gathering line to put for methane hog confinements. We have come between Hamilton County and Wright County. We got together with them and the county attorneys. We've put a requirement on, if they want to put it in our right of way, they will do a work in the right of way document and get a signature from every adjacent landowner. So, because they're private, they don't fall under the public utility designation.
If you ever change the road, they would have to move it.
Yes, exactly. But if we ever abandon the road, we wanted to make sure that agreement from the underlying landowner who has the rights to it would know, because this is gonna be a recorded document, that they know that pipeline or that gathering line is in the right of way.
Gotcha.
Okay. It
Which
was
is
something
their
that.
property, and they're paying taxes on it, but
No,
it
they're
is the
not paying
right.
taxes on it.
Not paying
They're not
taxes.
So
paying
they
taxes.
aren't, okay,
You do not pay taxes to the center line of the roadway, you pay taxes to the right of way line.
okay,
If we abandon it, they will be.
okay,
The road would not have easement.
because it would revert back to the.
But their
back to the
original
landowner.
easement that you gave that utility would still be a.
It would be in that agreement.
In that
Yes,
agreement,
they could make them do whatever they wanted to it, but yes, they would still notify them that they are there.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's not unlike any other road vacation that we do. We still allow the utilities to be there. If we do a road vacation, it just depends on what the landowner wants to do with that.
So in that case, you're talking something that's carrying methane, that would be considered, I assume, a hazardous pipeline.
Correct.
Who's the watchdog then
PHMSA.
for that? PHMSA is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
They've stated that they'll fall.
okay,
And they'll be under the same requirements as carbon then, in a sense, but they just wouldn't be considered a utility.
Understand, yep.
Okay.
It's my understanding of it. And once they get all that wrapped up, because they're working right now to try to get landowner signatures. And once that gets wrapped up, we'll bring them back and have them explain it to you what's going on and even before that too, if you wish.
and then they would need to, if they're crossing drainage district
They
easements,
won't be, they
would
be
not.
in the roadway. At no point, they wanted to use the roadway, and these are the requirements that the county attorneys have set upon them.
but the roadways, there are roadways that fall within drainage districts, so how does
I
that
understand,
shake out?
it's not on private property. Remember, the drainage districts are a private entity
Yeah,
and they're public.
yeah,
So as long as it's in the roadway, there would not be any,
okay,
because county secondary roads is responsible for the right of way even during drainage projects. So if a drainage district crosses a roadway, it is our pipe, essentially.
right,
How deep would they be going if they're in the,
There would just be a requirement of us, where we put them and so we're gonna put them in the back of the right of way line. So I think it's 36 to 48 inches, somewhere in there. So I think it's a 6 inch or an 8 inch.
and then would you require them to go to bore underneath those?
Yeah.
Things,
We've
okay,
already discussed all of that.
okay,
Same requirements that we would make of some.
so it would not come in front of the trustees,
Nope, not in front of the trustees.
okay,
It would become in
It's all
front
in
of
the
the board
right
of
way.
supervisors, and I would let you know that we would be issuing that.
okay,
Working around.
so when the utilities, when Per Energy put a new light pole in or anything like that, they're gonna be really cautious of where they're gonna be digging.
Yeah, they'll do their one call.
Okay.
Same thing with us. We would have to work around with putting any of our crossings in, any of our culverts in, any of our bridges.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Old business. Any meetings or anything last week?
I had nothing last week.
I had nothing last week. I've got economic development tomorrow morning and then emergency management, a budget workshop will be tomorrow at 4:30.
Yeah. This week I've got, I'm gonna go down for the conservation districts of Iowa. It's their visit day at the state capitol, and they're trying to get funding for watershed coordinators. So I'm gonna go down there representing the Boone River Watershed Management Authority. And then it's at 4:30 in the afternoon, we have the compensation board meeting. I think I'm the only one who attends that to represent the supervisors. Is that
Usually, yeah.
correct?
In the past.
All right,
When is that meeting? Sorry.
4:30.
Today.
No, 4:30 on Thursday, the 12th. And that'll be here in the supervisor's chamber. Any new business? Anything to be brought before the board? Okay, we have budget discussions with our department heads from 12 to 4. That will not be on Zoom, but it is open to the public. And I guess that's it. I would,
Motion,
yes,
One thing, your holidays, in the handbook, it does state that you guys will designate one of those. We get 2 floating holidays a year. One of those will be designated by the board. Did you guys specifically state on the holiday schedule, which one was the floating holiday that you were designating?
I don't think we
we
did.
did not.
You may want to review that and possibly amend it if you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's usually President's Day.
Understand. I just want to make sure that.
It's a February one, right? It's like we usually do.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, if they did.
So we have designated.
In the past, it's been that day because there's such a gap between,
Right, we did designate President's Day.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
You did, but you didn't designate it. That was the
Floating
identified floating holiday.
okay,
So I just don't want people to come to me or my crew or even employees to say, well, they didn't designate, so we get an extra one this year.
okay.
It just is, it states it in the handbook.
It states it in the handbook, it doesn't state a specific date. It says that the board will designate one.
I think we did in the past, just because it's such a gap for reviews.
Yeah, makes sense.
So. Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.